All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the GAC 2025, and we have pivoted to our second event here. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor, CEO of FiSafe. With me, as always, is my co-host and sponsor for the podcast,
Joe Gracia from CardFit.
Joe Gracia. Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
And we've moved from the library. This is like Clue. We've gone from the library, and now we're in the restaurante.
Yes.
And we're at Cuba Libre at the Bits and Bites at GAC, sponsored by Pure IT, Defense Storm, Janusea, NCU ISO, and Capstone. And with us, we have Jack Smith with
Pure IT.
Pure IT, one of the sponsors, and
David Whitcomb with Janusea.
good to see you guys.
Good to see
Thanks
you.
for having us.
So here we are. This is the kickoff. This is the very beginning of the Bits and Bites. Now, you've been doing this for how many years?
This will be our third year sponsoring this.
Third year. I've been every year. It's awesome. The food is killer. It's the room. It's one of the rooms to be in. I think.
Thanks, Jonathan.
I'm not bullshitting. From a fintech standpoint, last year it broke my heart to go and do the DC night tour with Reseda Group. I was like, I want to stay in this room. That was great, but so thank you for doing this, and thank you for having us here to do this. Kick us off. Talk about. Let's start with collaboration. Okay, so that's a huge piece of the movement for sure. We're all in the fintech QSO space, of it. Talk about the collaboration between Pure IT and Janusea.
I think it's just a natural collaboration because Pure IT spun Janusea out. So I think that's the first start of this. But the reason that Janusea was actually spun out from Pure IT was every time we'd go into a credit union, we'd run into the same problem, which is your core system doesn't integrate or connect with anything. And so Kyle and I, who were business partners at the time, kept going, how do we solve this problem? Let's find a vendor. We were looking for a partner that we could bring in to solve the problem. We knew MuleSoft was out there, but that's really an enterprise solution that takes a lot of people and money to build out in a credit union. And we knew most credit unions couldn't do that.
Right.
And so because of that, we kept looking for middleware, and we knew there was CUFX that Kuna had created, and we were like, let's go down that road and see if anyone's really forked this out and connected to a lot of cores. And we found a really small company in San Antonio, Texas that had done it for call center software. And we met with their owners, and we were like, we think you have something here that credit unions need badly, but you would have to put it in the cloud, and you'd have to extend it out, and there'd have to be some work done. And that owner happened to agree with us and saw the same vision. And so we were like, we'd love for you to stay with the company. We'd love to buy the intellectual property and spin out a new organization. And so that's really how Janusea came to be. And Kyle had a passion for solving this problem because him and David had actually lived through this problem together at a credit union in their past life. And so it was really a point of passion for Kyle. And so we spun Janusea out. Now, how did we collaborate, though? We never knew. So Pure IT goes in and looks at everything for a credit union, right? We look at your IT stack, how you're paying for your IT stack, what your strategy is. Is it giving you ROA? Is it helping you grow members and assets? And then we typically formulate a strategic plan to get you where you need to go in the right direction. And it can be from 2 to 3 years. It could be 3 to 5, depending on money and all of those things. But that one key piece, integration of systems, has always been the long pole in the tent to get credit unions to actually be able to leverage everything, right?
Nice.
Because if you can't get data together and you can't get systems to communicate, then the inefficiency in a credit union is actually insane because you're moving from your core to your LOS and you're having to key and to make an employee have to key something 6 times is utterly inefficient, right? Yeah. And so we were like, there's multiple problems that need to be solved here. So let's fast forward to a really good situation that's happened. So Kyle and I were meeting with a client of Pure IT's. We knew they were looking at M&A, and so we started whiteboarding with them, with their executives in a room. And we said, look, we think we can save you a tremendous amount of money. Why do you want to do core decommissions? Why do you want to go pay for that? If you're going to go acquire credit unions with a different core, and they were like, it's the most expensive part of the whole deal. And
Absolutely.
so if you could extract the cores to databases and you can put middleware on top of that And you can put a piece of software here that does everything, that everything feeds into from the credit union perspective and allows you one single member view. And you create a workflow that you can migrate from core to new core. It makes it much more efficient, and it saved the credit union a tremendous amount of money. And now you don't have to go look for acquisition partners that are on the same core. And now you don't have member disruption when you bring in the new credit union. So that was the idea.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to let the really smart guy, David, talk about how he actually accomplished all that with Janusea. So
Before you do, that's interesting because I've always known of Janusea as a fintech solution to help fintechs talk to the core. But what I'm hearing is the origin was actually to help credit unions.
it was to help both.
I was going to say, like Jack told the credit union side of the story. I was
Right,
going to
you
say,
can tell
hey,
tell the
let me
fintech
talk about
side.
the fintech side, is because as a fintech, coding to a core, well, one may be reachable, but if we have 15 or 20 in the industry, that becomes really difficult and time consuming. Getting one may
Do you
take,
have 30 years?
right. One may take you 6 to 12 months just to get the relationships, get the contracts, get the API documents. Then you have to code. Then you have to troubleshoot. Then you have to figure out all the nuances that credit union or bank did
Correct.
when they implemented. Because it's all, while it's the same, it's all very, very
It's
different.
all different.
Yep.
They customize big time.
So it's
I always explain it this way. How many different flavors of vanilla are there?
That's correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they might have French vanilla. They might have vanilla bean. Okay. You got to go in and pick every goddamn piece of bean out of that vanilla to make it French vanilla.
Yeah. So we solve that problem for the fintech. So when a fintech comes to us, they're able to say, once they have Janusea under the covers, they can say, I can integrate with your core.
Yeah.
And it's easy and it's simple. We've done it before. We've got 5 other clients in your core because Janusea behind the scenes has done the hard work of piping through the APIs and normalizing them for the fintech. So that's the other side of it, is that we meet the needs of the fintechs and we meet the needs of the banks or the credit unions who may have the cores that enable them to integrate, but don't also have the internal expertise to figure out how to talk to a fintech to make that integration happen.
Right.
So we're kind of a bridge between the two sides. We have the expertise from the fintech side, and we also have a ton of expertise from having worked in banks, written to the APIs, and developed solutions inside of banks ourselves. I've done it. One of the co-founders, Tina, has done it, and some of her team who were with the company we acquired early on that Jack mentioned have done it for decades. So we have expertise that just doesn't exist readily in the market right now.
When Kyle and Masako first laid this out to me at a conference a few years ago, I literally, my arms dropped to my sides and I looked at them and I was like, where were you? Like, I was both relieved and upset because I was like, where were you guys a decade ago when I was going core to LOS to core, just beating my head against a wall for 2.5 years usually to get something integrated, and then it never was exactly the way that we wanted it, and then you had to get, oh my God, the pain points of that process. And all you're doing is trying to help these credit unions. That's all you're trying to do. And then to understand some of the nuances and difference, because there's a lot of different middleware providers that are out there, but a lot of them, they and I'm painting with a broad brush, but a lot of them will help you in that journey I just described, and maybe they can speed that up, and maybe they can speak the language for you to speed things up, but you're still going like one at a time And the thing that I think is really unique, and when people ask me, hey, what is it you love about Janusea? I say, it's like a small bay and the rising tide raises all the ships. And so if you get in with them and it's so collaborative, because as you guys add more cores, it benefits everybody. It benefits the group. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that is a unique difference that you guys have over the market.
Yeah, so we have some specific focuses on deposit accounts and loan accounts and expanding our functionality within those two areas right now, which are, again, fundamentals. You can get a base level deposit account or base level of a loan, but we have enough opportunities with fintechs right now in the lending space that if we start acquiring deep, more granular level of collateral data and collateral information, we can both read and write that into the core when it's applicable. Well, that now expands out to our partners who are running call center software or are running deposit origination software. They may be able to start originating loans if they want to. As we open up those integrations and we expand and we increase the complexities and increase the capabilities, Well, it's a platform, so as we build those out, it is embedded in the platform, and so you can you can benefit from that as a fintech as well. And so you can start dreaming a little bit bigger about what you do. If you start hitting walls and limits on where you think your market is, well, now you might be able to pivot a little bit and expand your market quite a bit. So that's giving new opportunities for innovation and collaboration in the fintech space to the benefit of banks and credit unions.
Do you see yourself as Switzerland in the fintech space? Like you must come across fintechs that you're working with that are potentially competing between each other. Is that
all
right?
day long. No, that is accurate. You might have competing people on our platform, right? Because the differentiator for them should be their solution, not the connection.
Amen.
Yeah, opening
Right.
an account is not innovative.
Yeah.
A core does that all day, every day.
Right.
What's innovative is how you put together the solution that gets that new member on, engaged, and using their debit card immediately, right? That's the innovation. It's not like, while we're innovative in how we've put things together and that we have an ability to execute that others haven't done in the industry so far, the innovation happens at the fintech level and sometimes at the credit union level when they think of something they can actually execute now with partners.
Well, you asked a good question, I think. You said, I always thought of it from the fintech side. And I think the interesting part to us is we see it as both, right?
Right.
Like we think we have credit unions that buy enterprise licenses from us because they know they have a lot they want to do. And this frees them to go make decisions that they couldn't do otherwise, right? So now they can just go to the vendor and say, look, I've already got a platform. All you have to do is connect to it.
And so you guys have an interesting perspective or vantage point, tree to look at the market from, seeing both sides of things. Where do you see things going in 2025?
So we are already aggressively adding fintechs. We have been. And those fintechs aggressively as they add customers, we get financial institutions. So I think that'll continue. I think the difference we will focus on this year is also now going after, we've got enterprise license with credit unions because we have relationships, right? But we haven't actively gone to pursue credit unions for enterprise licensing, and we now think that market should start to open up because credit unions are going to finally really have that understanding of why they need it and how much it benefits them. I do think you'll see that take off more over $500 billion in asset size first because they tend to have more of the need, and then you'll slowly see that just continue to cycle down.
An enterprise license means the credit union now has the ability to connect people in directly themselves?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the great thing, and David kind of touched on it. Because we understand financial institutions, especially credit unions, so well, they don't really have much of a lift. The lift on their side is actually minimal, and that's what we think is our competitive advantage in the marketplace, if I'm being very direct, is that, look, you can go, if you go to sell the top 5% of credit unions, they might be able to buy something like a MuleSoft or something that you actually have to go implement, build, manage. But 95% of credit unions cannot do that. They don't have the talent,
Right.
They don't have the money. And so we made sure on ours that it was so easy that it's not going to be a burden on them and that they can get it stood up internally quickly. And that we would actually do it. And it's just not, I mean, I'll let you talk to it, David, but it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been in the industry now for 18 years. It's kind of crazy to
Me
think that
too.
long. Yeah. So I worked at MX Technologies and Fiserv before that, and I saw banks and credit unions buying middleware platforms, buying the teams and staff to build them, and then trying to do their first integrations. And then they were getting massive professional services charges from the fintechs because now it's a custom integration.
Yes.
Because I can't do this with anyone else, so I can't scale it. And that's where it's been interesting to see as some of our customers now have actually said, oh yeah, we're actually coming off of MuleSoft and we're going to replace MuleSoft with you because we thought this was going to do something for us and we were spending way too much time and effort trying to build it and then trying to get people to adopt it. And so we've taken out, again, we've made that part really easy. So I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're going to see just accelerated innovation. I think industry-wise, M&A is going to continue. Right. I think we're already seeing that.
Right.
And I think increasing innovation there will, if we make it easier with technology and we decrease the cost with just some unique thinking around how we do it, that's where we can start to see some real change. And I think in some very good ways. And so once that's realized and we see the ability to innovate with the technology in general, I think Janusea customers come in, or the enterprise customers Jack's talking about, come in kind of two ways. One is, hey, this is my second integration with you. Should we talk about what it means to do a third or a fourth? Because it seems to be working. That's one mechanism. The other is, hey, we have a broader enterprise IT strategy we need to execute on. We need something that's more architectural, and that's what we want you for. And so we've seen both happen, where we see, hey, this is the second time this credit union's connecting now. We should probably talk to them about how, like, if this is going to continue, we should talk to them about the portfolio partners we have,
Right.
to see if there's better opportunity to help them be more efficient and move faster.
I love that.
So-
I thought of a great metaphor, and then we want to close out with the card fit question of the day. So I'm a huge metaphor guy. You know this about the everything about me. But you think about what you guys are, and you think about when a lot of these systems, and this isn't disrespect, it's just facts. When did they come out? They came out when I was playing Atari. Okay?
If not before.
If not before Atari. Okay? And do you remember when all TVs that projected these gaming systems switched to digital instead of analog?
Oh, yeah.
And remember, there was a massive issue with, guys, your TVs aren't going to play these video game systems
Duck
anymore.
Hunt didn't work anymore.
Duck Hunt didn't work, guys. What are we going to do? You guys are that converter, right, from analog to digital in this space. That's really what you guys are talking about. That's what I just heard.
It is, and I think it's also about getting people to real time and stop this batch and this waiting for things and not being able to move quickly. And I mean, how bad is it that you can't make a decision? You're decisioning on data that's so old.
Right.
It's a horrible way to live,
Correct.
especially when you're a financial institution. You need to be able to make a quick decision with the data at hand, and it needs to be real time. And that's one of the things we're trying to enable as well.
100%.
I can understand how you benefit from network effects that any one core is not going to realize. But why aren't the cores doing more of this?
So FIS and Fiserv are trying to execute on the strategy themselves already.
But they're late.
They're expensive, and they've had to pivot their strategy 5 times to get it to actually get traction. Because their first approach was
Proprietary.
charge the bank, charge the credit union, and it was half-baked technology that didn't work that well. So those two things together just meant that people didn't trust it, and that in their base of clients, the banks and credit unions, didn't believe that it was real.
Yeah.
They're making progress, but they're still, like, what Janusea has is we're independent. So you work through their middleware, their normalized platform, and you're still stuck with Fiserv or FIS. They have some great products. They have some not so great products. And if you're stuck on their middleware, you're likely going to pay an excise tax to get it out of the middleware.
Yep.
And then you've got to get a bigger transition to leave. So having an independent solution gives a credit union the freedom to make the choices in the future they may not have otherwise.
Got it. And Jack, I thought you were going to go to M&A in 2025. Did that come up, or?
Oh, I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to continue. But I mean, when you say M&A, like, do I think it's going to accelerate in the space?
That's
100%. Yes. No, I mean, it's been accelerating in the space for the last 3 or 4 years,
Right.
and I don't think it's going to slow down at all.
Right.
I mean, if you want my honest opinion, it's just going to get faster and faster. And I think the more you enable it on the tech, what is the biggest slowdown? It's the tech side.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, that literally is the biggest thing.
It's literally almost a year difference. Like when a credit union merges together, there's we're merged, and
And
then
then
a
it's
year
not.
later, there's the technology merge. There's the true merge.
So if we talk about this, what Jack's initial story was, if we come back to what happened on Saturday, was I would say the first fruits of that overall vision.
That strategy.
Right. So we had a credit union client, an enterprise client, who had another partner who's also a fintech partner of Janusea.
Nice.
And for the past 2.5 to 3 months, we've been working keep that number in mind, 2.5 to 3 months. We've been working very closely, mapping data files, because this credit union was buying a branch of another credit union.
Okay.
So that the acquiring branch was sending the data files over. The Janusea partner was processing data files, working with the credit union to make sure that everything's in line. We have everything we need. Janusea's working to ensure that all the data points required can be written to the core effectively. Really amazing project. I will say this is like one of some of the most proud I've been of a project that I've been a part of in my 17 years as a financial services person.
Wow.
Saturday, in 4 hours, we created 7,000 new memberships. We created about 14,000 deposit accounts. We created 900 loans. We attached collateral to all those loans if it applied. We created primaries, joints, beneficiaries, authorized signers. Every role that was in that old core was transitioned and mapped to the new core and inserted. We created maturity transfer records for certificates and club accounts. We created overdraft records so that they could ensure they had the protections that credit union gave them by default. That was all done in 4 hours. The credit union was able to run their financial process at the end of that scenario. The members had the funds in their accounts, their cards were usable, and they were on the way. Not that simple, but it was way smoother than I think most of those processes are.
You know what I think that deserves, David?
I'm bowing. I'm bowing.
That's unbelievable.
It was amazing. It was a great
Wow.
team. Yeah, the credit union was. Props to the credit union. They had
have a
amazing
phenomenal
levels of
staff.
competence.
Wow.
Amazing project managers. People,
Yeah.
They I was looking at their team on a regular basis thinking, these are the people that have been here
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years, and they love the credit union, and they know the process, and they know the data, and they know everything that's happening. And the Janusea FinTech partner they had an amazing developer that was like toe-to-toe with me the whole time. We were bouncing ideas off each other, making sure that we were aligned. We were reviewing data points. We were reviewing mappings and making sure it was there. And it was an amazing process to really have a four-party project
Right.
result in that type of outcome was incredible.
Wow.
And that's collaboration, folks.
That's what I'm talking about. And fast. Fast collaboration.
Yeah, 3 months.
That's not
Yeah.
a year. That's not 2 years later. I mean, you think about the game changer speed, especially in all the uncertainty that's going on in this market. Which never changes, but now it's I think even more. That's absolutely massive. That's absolutely massive. Where do folks go if they want to learn more about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go to janusea.com. Would be
Do you think,
a good
or do you
start.
know,
No,
Jack?
I know you need to go to Janusea. But what's funny is, and this is where Pure IT does come into play, I guess, is we work with a lot what credit unions, and we
Bragging
typically
camp.
we typically don't bring in Janusea until the need is there, right?
Sure.
But what we're finding is typically at some point the credit union needs that connection, right?
Sure.
And so I think Janusea's about to add a client that's probably going to add. And now it'll be over a course of time, but 1,500 financial institutions, and that's not just credit unions; that's banks and credit unions. Well, that's
Yeah.
actually 25% of the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you get that kind of scale on a platform that you could actually move money on,
Right.
well, you've literally just created a rail
Yeah.
too, because
Yeah.
it's just a token.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so now you've created a faster track to even transfer money between institutions. You've real-time pay. I mean, it's a whole lot there, but
Yeah, the opportunity is kind of incredible.
kind of immense.
when we look at the future.
Well, here's what I'm going to promise you, gentlemen, because we do have others that are lined up here. We're going to do a longer form one. We're really going to get in and geek out on this stuff.
Well,
because
hopefully we
there's
can
so
bring the
many
credit union
different-
along as well.
Yeah.
and
Well,
they can be a part of it,
100%.
too.
I mean, I said this before. I mean, we have a crisis of awareness in this space. Whether you're a credit union, whether you're a fintech, I love the story of a QSO birthing another QSO or cloning another QSO. I mean, we're starting to get it. It's like the movie Inception. We're starting to get into like the third level, fourth level with the spinning thimble. I think it's awesome. And you guys are going to save credit unions. You are.
That's our mission.
You are gonna save
our
credit
investors.
unions.
Our investors. That was the goal.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say because
Yeah.
we're credit unions are our investors, right?
Right.
So that
I
is our
love
goal.
it. I love it. Well, David, Jack, Janusea, Pure IT, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having us,
Oh,
JT.
100%.
time.
Joe, any final thoughts?
No, we'll leave it there.
No, we'll leave it there. Joe Gracia with CardFit and Nichols. Appreciate you sponsoring the podcast, the CU Event Podcast. And this has been the Bits and Bytes at GAC at the Cuba Libre, sponsored by Pure IT, Defense Storm, Janusea,
NCU
and
ISO.
CUISO. Thank you, Jack, and Capstone, and folks.
And Bank
we will-
Social.
And Bank Social. Guys, thank you so much. And folks, you're thinking about somebody that needs to hear this because they need help. So let's grow our tribe. Let's spread the word, share it with them, and let's go.